everyone, and welcome to the Business Takeaway, a videocast series where we interview professionals within the advertising, marketing, and public relations industry. I'm your host, Kate Landgren, and today I have with me Becca Feauto, founder and brand strategist at ladybee. Hi, Becca. Thank you so much today for joining me.
Yes, hello, Kate. Nice to meet you and see
You
you.
as well. So I guess we can go ahead and get started with the interview. So my first question for you today is, what got you interested in this field?
I love creativity. Like I love, I think forms of expression, typically are lent to creativities, whether that's writing or photography, graphics creation in that way. So I just had always been, even when I was young, into writing and wanting to just talk to people, just talk. So I thought marketing is a great way to be able to accomplish in both of those in my career.
Absolutely. So as you grew up and you went to college, tell us a little bit about your education life, your degrees, if that was something.
Yes, so I did go to college. I had the luxury of being published for poetry and some short stories and creative writing in high school. So when I went to college, I had really wanted to, again, continue down this creative, kind of what can I do to use my skill set. And my skill set, again, was talking. So I got a comm degree, right? Because that's what we do. But it's more than just talking to people, which is funny enough. It is really a lot about psychology, understanding relationships. So it's a great we did organizational communication, interpersonal comm, and rhetorical theory, and public speaking, and all those different courses in college. And then I also went on and got a creative writing minor within poetry, short stories. Took a lot of literature classes, love to read and kind of get into visually what people when they're reading. I want them to see what's on the page. And so I really just leveraged a lot of those things from high school into my college and my degree. But to be honest, I had no clue what I was going to do with it, with a career, other than I was like, I'll be a writer someday, or a journalist was another career path I looked into. But again, as I looked into what is it that I can use my gifts and talents for and really pursue a career of my dreams, if you will, marketing just kind of seemed to be where I landed at a big scope. Obviously, there's a lot to marketing, which we can dive into here shortly.
Yeah. Okay. So where did you go to college specifically?
Oh, I went to the University of Northern Iowa.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what has your career path been since graduating from college?
Yeah, so it's been a lot of kind of just trial and error situations, which I think a lot of people can relate to. Right out of college, actually right out of college, my husband and I got graduated from college. 4 weeks later, got married. 4 months later, we moved to Kansas City. And that's really where my career started. I worked for a professional training company down there, doing sales. My little cubicle and my little headset, like nothing sexy about that whatsoever. But but what I loved about that opportunity, and even at that moment, I was 23 years old. I was like, you know what, this is going to apply to whatever I do someday, because it was professional training and growth. Courses that I was able to take for free. So I took 40 courses in the time frame of like about 19 months, and all for free because it's what I do. And we always like, well, I got to sell it to my clients, so I got to know what I'm selling, kind of angle. And leadership courses, communication courses, how to handle difficult people, managing emotions under pressure. Think about like things, work and life, all the things are so busy. Like, how do you manage big emotions doing all of the things? And again, I was just like, I know, like I just took it all in because I knew I someday would be able to apply that. And which I did. I moved actually right from that position to working at an internal marketing and sales department software company. And we were traveling all over the United States at trade shows. And I had the opportunity to train so doctors' names who to you and they're most likely, but like in that industry, that world, they're like a big deal. So here I'm this 24, 25-year-old who, like, in hindsight, that opportunity was, I didn't even realize how grand it was at the time until after, looking back, you're like, holy cow, I got to meet with like Dr. Chang at University of Chicago, and I got to do like people who are moving and shaking in this industry, who are writing journals and books and all the things, and they're sitting down asking me questions about how to operate our software. Again, like out of like now looking back, it's like, God, I was kind of cool. But, so doing all of those things, but in the meantime, I also had very small children at home. I had like a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then I ended up having pregnant with my third child there. And the travel and all the things that job required were really a lot, but learned a ton. We worked at the marketing agency. We brainstormed and birthed a software product from the gate. On my first day on the job was on an airplane on a Sunday morning. So great experiences, but just a little off for where I was at in my life. And we were also launching that software during a recession, that 2008, 2000 time period. So we had a luxury product, not time when luxury was really from a financial perspective was at our disposal or disclosure. So we ended up having those challenges as well. So it ultimately ended up being a good time for me to step back from that position. We moved here to Sioux City, Iowa, to be closer to family with all the 3 little kids in tow. And I worked at an ad agency. And this is where I really fell in love with marketing and really got my feet wet with all of the different industries and all of the different things you could do with marketing. We had been very product specific before, where now I'm working with a variety of different industries that we could do any, it felt like the world was my oyster. We could dream up any big ideas, use that creative, imagination. And unfortunately that business, while I loved what I was doing, was also, I didn't love who I was doing it for. So it came time where they were actually in a position that they were going to sell the business, and I didn't want to be sold. It sounds kind of maybe interesting to say that, but I wasn't loving who I was working it for, and I wasn't about to go do it for someone else. And I was actually having this conversation with a client of mine at the time, and she was like, well, have you ever thought about opening up your own business? And I was like, no, I have a 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, or 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. I was like, that's risky. And I'm like, I got a mortgage to pay, I got babies' mouths to feed, like I can't. And then, of course, before all of that came out verbally, this is all in my head, she follows it up with, because if you do, I will be your first client. So that got me really thinking, and I was like, all right.
You're like, wow, I can actually do that.
Now it becomes real, right? Exactly. So I ended up going to another client of mine that had 2 businesses with us. So we had essentially 3 different clients that if I can onboard all 3, then I can do this. And I was able to do that. 2 weeks later, we opened our shop, opened our doors, had our first pitch. Not one of the 3 clients, by the way. We just kind of went in, all hands on deck, which was mine. And my husband's, I guess, too, with just something over here. And just did it without thinking, without overthinking, which is something I look back now and I was like, man, my perfectionism part of myself and my over preparing, overbearing, and very controlling part of my personality is that is I gotta go back and give myself some credit, because that girl back there, she just threw caution to the wind and she just went for it. And that's scary. So
that is so challenging. What do you think your biggest challenge was when you first started your own company? Or what was the thing that you were like, oh my gosh, I was not prepared for this at all?
Great question. Well, it's kind of the basic answer, but it was money. I mean, I had to, my business is 100% funded by yours truly. And so it became, again, okay, we have these clients over here that can fund this. I got a $300 refurbished laptop from a shop here in town. I had my web developer put the most simplest website on the web. I did all of my social media. It was really clunky, really not pretty. I have a friend of mine drew me up a logo, and we had that logo, and then we redesigned that logo later on because we realized how cheesy it was, but we had a logo. And so I think just the money and getting going, but also and again, not super amazing answer, but everything is on you. So you wake up in the morning and you work for someone else and you don't feel like giving 100%. I mean, if you don't give 100%, no one really generally is going to know that. If you're just you can coast through your day and it can be all good. But when you work for you and it is only you, if you don't want to give 100%, that's not an option. You either get up and go, or and you do the things you need to do to make money. You might not make money, but you can set yourself up to get that momentum and that motion going. So those are the early challenges. And I think, just that consistency, everyone will say the basic, well, we didn't have healthcare. Of course, my son what, 4? No, he's not 4. He was 8 at the time, was playing at the park, and someone threw a handful of those little pebble rock
Oh,
things.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Or gravel or whatever.
what happened? Yeah, yeah. One lodges in his ear. Like, how does that happen? How does that even happen? So what does he do? He goes to get it out. What, he shoves it down further. It
Oh,
takes a doctor's visit, it takes a specialist visit, and then it takes putting him under. It takes a $4,000 plus bill to get a pebble out of his ear.
and you're like, this is really bad
And
timing.
we just got rid of health insurance.
Later, like you could have waited for this.
So, it's just one of those things where you make these decisions and you're like, okay, we're going to sacrifice, the healthcare right now. We're going to sacrifice, because I carry the health, we're going to make these big things and these big risks. And then, but here's the deal. That's always going to happen. Like, it's like the law of, there's a law out there. It is the law of whatever that is. I don't even know. Like, when you're working for something really big and you're pushing through and you are like excited, something's going to happen to you to make you want to step back and maybe question that decision, or to literally persuade you to go the other way still. I had been looking for a job previous to opening my business, and I was either coming runner up on positions, or they were positions I was overqualified for that I was just going to somewhat settle for until I found something, something else. And that's no way to really, I didn't want to do that. I literally felt like I was just in a position where I didn't have any of these options. Thank God for my client for giving me a bone and like opening my mind up to this. But then guess what happened? People started calling with offers. People started calling with like really good ones that a month or two before that I would have probably pursued. But I had to make the decision to be all in on this, which I think is kind of one, maybe a piece for later on even, but like making that call to go all in, and then knowing the universe is going to drop opportunities to you, and you're going to have to be so convicted in that you're going to have to say no and continue moving forward.
So you were offered a lot of clients, like you said, right off the bat. What do you think made your company so, what's the word? Attractive? Like, why do you think that people wanted to hire you? Because you're this fresh business. Do you think they knew you previously? Did they know people that you were employing? Why do you think people hired you?
Yeah, great question. I think two things. One is that we had that previous relationship. We had worked together at some small capacity, and I had a track record in this community, whether it was with them or whether it was with other people that they saw. It was one of those deals where, we moved here. I was fresh faced, but my husband had grown up here. So while I didn't know the community or the people within it, I could, people knew him a little bit from, we're talking high school days. So this isn't like it was, he's a professional in this community, in the market, but he had, and his family had some good reputation to have me say loud and proud, I'm part of this family, and just worked my butt off. When I say worked my butt off, I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I joined our young professionals group, and I went to every single event. And I mean, big, small, everyone. I did not miss one for about 2 years. First year for sure. Second year, maybe cut out some of the little things that I knew weren't going to move the needle as fast. But every big event, and the goal was to meet people. Again, being new here, they didn't know me from Adam. And this is a community, and probably a lot of others, that are built on foundations of trust and reputation. So even though I would go to a company, they would at least give me the meeting, and I would go in and meet with them. There was a lot of them that would really stay true to who they were working with, even if I had a better solution. And even if they admitted they had a better solution or a better plan, they were still so tight with their God they've used for 20 years that there was no break in that tie. Mm-hmm. That's not as much as it is now. We've been here for, 10, 11 years now, but those early first 2 years, that was what the feedback was. So I knew that I had to build relationships with these individuals, but also build my reputation and have some skin in the game. I know what I'm doing. So once that was happening, so this was about 3 years in when I broke away, and I had been on committees and boards and done all the things that got me in front of the right people. Then I was able to go back to them and have that same conversation with a little bit more pull and influence, if you will, and a history. And so that was the second one too, like the networking, but then also to be good at what you do, to be the best. My goal was never to be the biggest. It was to be the best at what I did. So I don't care if I had a team of 4 people or 40 people. I want to be the best. I want when someone says, hey, you should talk to so and so about marketing, or social media was a big thing we did for a very long time, content development, copywriting. If someone even heard those words, I wanted to think Becca Feauto, ladybee, or actually initially my business was called Pulse Marketing. That's the business we launched first. So I should have shared that earlier. Yeah. I'm sorry.
How far into that when you changed it to ladybee?
5 years. So we had Pulse Marketing for 5 years, which essentially was what we launched right away. When I had my client say, like, if you started, I will be your first client conversation. We launched it as Pulse Marketing, and we were a full service marketing agency or marketing firm for that small to mid-sized business. So anyone between 5 to 25 employees that had the need for marketing, but didn't have a necessarily need for a full-time member or team member to just do marketing. What we found a lot of times, people would have like someone who's doing an ad job, or like the front desk would also be responsible for posting on social, or would also be responsible for doing things that they weren't necessarily trained to do. And so they weren't done well, they weren't done effectively. And so we would come in and we would take on those responsibilities, from graphics to social media to website design and development, any brochures and business card. I mean, pretty much anything you would ever need, we could come in and support their business in that way.
Cool. Wow. Very, very cool. Who would you say right now is your company's biggest competitor?
This is a great question. So we're pivoting now, and have been in the middle of pivoting for a while. Initially I would say in some of our local agencies here, when you do the RFP process, or you're just going, to pitch a client, you're typically, well, because you're smart enough to ask, because you should ask, who else are entertaining, all those different things. And they'll tell you, I guess in my experience, they'll tell you if you ask them. It's your local competitors. In our case, we weren't doing, big national clients or anything like that. We were doing kind of our small area here. But now I think it's free game. I think we've got Zoom, we've got all these other ways to serve people from across the world, that when it comes to competitors, I think it's more of what the person who's looking for the service or the solution actually needs, and them having the ability to find now the perfect fit, versus having to settle for what's available in their local community. I think about coaches. We have some coaches around here that are great. They're absolutely wonderful coaches, when business coaches. But when I think about who I want to be coached by, it's not them. I have coaches in California and Arizona right now. And this is how we do it. We coach via the Zoom. So I think coming to competitors, it's more about, can I solve or can I help you solve, your challenges with your business? Because there's things that I've been through that, yes, hands down, we can work together on. I don't know everything, and I will very fast tell you fastly. That's not a word. I will very quickly tell you if I am or if I'm not the person to serve you and what it is you want to do. So I have everyone fill out an assessment, and I review that assessment, and then I make a decision whether I can help you or whether I cannot help you.
Wow. So there are clients that come in where you're like, we can't offer this to you. You should look elsewhere. Correct. Not, wow.
Yeah, interesting. Correct. And because I know the level that I want to serve at, and I'm not willing to bring it down because I don't know something, or I'm not willing to bring it down because I've only done it maybe once or twice. That's happened too, where I've dabbled in maybe trying to help someone in this area, and it doesn't fuel my cup and my fire. So I'm like, I'm going to stick to what I know. But right now, like I kind of started to allude to earlier, we're shifting away, I should say, from the one-to-one model, and beginning to do more of the one-to-many model. And so I've taken really what's worked with Pulse Marketing, and I brought it into ladybee, and I left the rest of it behind, and we're not going to go there ever again, in an effort to really start living out my purpose more fully, and to also do what I love, where I can serve people at the highest level. And again, we're not going back to here. That's what I would do before. We would go to here to serve, and they would be happy because it was better than nothing. But I'm no longer interested in doing a half-assed job. I'm no longer interested in doing a halfway job, or something that doesn't align with me personally, or again, that isn't like a heck yes kind of a service.
Right.
If that
I
makes
think
sense.
that's cool. 'Cause, I mean, you're basically saying I'd rather be consistent and be true to my brand than just take as many people as I can. And I think this is a lot about
Exactly.
you, which is really, really cool.
Exactly. And I think to kind of refer to from an earlier question too, like when you're early in your business, you do that. You tend to take on what you can.
Right. Because you're just like, I just want what I can right now.
Yeah.
New,
Because
we're
you're
trying to build. Right.
Yep. And you know what? There is a season of your business for that. And I would probably place it at the beginning if you're, if you're not quite clear, and I don't even think I was clear. I opened up when I first opened, I was an event planning business and photography. And then I got rid of event planning and kept photography, website, social media, email marketing. We kept growing on that and we came full service. And then I wanted to pare down again. Like, holy heck, like the journey of what we did and what we didn't do changed so much. And this was when I had a team of people that I had brought on too. So it's it's the work is never done. The work is never done. The journey's never over. But I think clarity, crystal clear clarity, and that's what when we got rid of the clutter, that's what the process we were doing was clarity, and we knew with ladybee, at least at that time, at the very basis, what we were doing service wise, and and I should say who we were serving, which is women in business.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so how can you use social media to reach and impress traditional media?
Social media to reach and impress. I I guess social media is a very interesting medium overall for marketing. And when I talk to clients about it, it's really it trumps traditional media in the sense that you can actually have a one-on-one connection with someone and you can track it. Obviously, you can track how effective it is or not effective it is. When it's so funny because I've recently watched The Social Dilemma, and so I'm like, yeah, social media. I still love social media, but here's the thing about social media that I really caution people is like obviously yes, it can be something that is it's we don't control it, we don't own it. We have tons of content on there. People I know have just poured their hearts out on social media and have changed people. Like it's a crazy what the impact of it can be. People connecting and all the things. I will say though, to one of the things that I'm really working with my current clients and students now is bringing that experience into other mediums beyond social, like email, like your website, aka a blog, maybe doing a podcast, doing something like this where you're like a video cast, something that gets that content across multiple platforms in multiple ways and multiple ways of consumption as well, just to kind of continue to be, inclusive in those ways for others who maybe have can't aren't on social media or aren't on your email list, different things like that too. But I really I really think social media, I mean, it's so powerful, it's so impactful, and to grow your page means to get vulnerable. It means to pull back the curtain. It means to stop worrying about what people think. It means to veto the perfectionism, but also sharing that part of you on other mediums too, I think is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely.